afternoon, honorable ministers, distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Romain Ekoto, and I'll be the moderator for this session. I'm the regional director for the ICAO Western and Central African Regional Office based in Dakar. At this time of the day, I'll keep this very simple. We are not here for another panel. We are here for a reality check. Because across aviation, especially in developing regions, we often hear there is no money. But the reality is different. There is capital, there is liquidity, there is interest from financiers. What is often missing is bankable projects. So today's session is about one thing, understanding what actually makes an aviation project financeable. Not in theory, but in practice. We will present 4 real projects, anonymized, but very real. Projects that many states are struggling with today, covering airport infrastructure, CNS and ATM modernization, sustainable aviation fuel, and capacity development. And instead of long presentations, we will do something different. Our panelists today represent institutions that finance aviation globally. But for this session, they are not panelists, they are investors. They will react to each project in real time, no prepared speeches, no diplomatic answers. We want to hear, would you finance this project? What is missing? What are the risks? And what would make it bankable? Because too often, there is a gap. On one side, technical experts who know what needs to be built. On the other, financiers who know what can be funded. And in between, projects don't move. This session is about closing that gap, addressing the real drivers for financing decisions. This is not about criticism. It's about equipping our states, equipping you, because if we want to unlock aviation's full potential, we must move from good ideas to bankable projects. So as you listen, I invite you to ask yourselves, would my project survive this room? With that, let me introduce our investors for today, starting with Mr. Christopher Deserio from World Bank, Senior Air Transport Specialist. So Christopher, please. Let me continue, and then you'll get a chance to express yourself. So then next is Mrs. Felicity Spors, Director Climate Strategy Delivery and Sustainable Business and Infrastructure for the European Bank for Reconstruction and Development, EBRD. Hello, Felicity. Hello. Then next, Mr. Marco Yamaguchi, Manager, Transport and Logistics Division at the African Development Bank. Next is Mr. Mingitsu Jima, Head of Export Credit Agency Finance, ECA, Trade at the Trade and Development Bank. Last but not least, Mr. Olivier Barrique, Aviation and Airport Specialist, Modalis Infrastructure Partner. So let me start with our first project today. We're looking at a major gateway airport project that is reaching capacity, both airside and landside, while demand continues to grow. The vision is ambitious. They want to build a second runway, a new terminal, expand apron capacity, and supporting infrastructure. The total investment is in the order of $5 billion. But the issue is not the vision. The issue is, how do you turn a large master plan into something financeable? Today, the project is at pre-feasibility stage. Let me show the project as well on the screen. Yes. So today, the project is at pre-feasibility stage, and several key elements are still missing. No clear phasing or packaging strategy, land acquisition and permitting still uncertain, no structured financial model, And delivery options, either PPP, sovereign, or hybrid, are still open. Yet, the potential is clear. This project could unlock hub capacity, drive trade and tourism, and strengthen regional competitiveness. So the first question will be addressed to Christopher about entry criteria. So when a government or an airport sponsor, for this case, approaches the World Bank with an aviation project, what are the three first elements you need to see before the bank can seriously screen the project?
Thank you. I'm going to first premise this with, I don't see myself as a shark. I see the bank more as a dolphin, in the sense that we are a lender of last resort. And so if you're coming to us at this point, you've exhausted the possibility of capital markets and the private sector. So, and I see that this is a PPP. Now, from where I sit, the questions I have around the design here is there a credible sector governance framework in place? Are the regulatory arrangements consistent with the expectations? Is there a national aviation safety plan or a master plan that in the pre-feasibility study that has developed the design work and done some basic financial modeling? Is the economic viability case there? I think the second thing around, after those fundamentals, is really foundational. Is the PPP law in place, if we're really looking at PPPs? Is the national procurement law consistent with a competitive approach to bringing investors to make this investment? From a transactional perspective, you're looking at implementation arrangements. Are the fiduciary actors appropriate? Do they understand bank procurement guidelines? Do they understand the financial management procedures, the fiduciary controls that the bank would look at as part of an assessment to move into a project concept? With those three, I would actually also say that this is could potentially be a nice project for a One World Bank group. The capital ask is much higher than the World Bank itself would provide. You would look at kind of a cascade approach where possibly the bank would be involved on some of the public sector safety security financing, but the IFC could bring in either equity, if it's truly bankable, or investment partners along the way. And then MIGA, the Multilateral Investment Guarantee Agency within the bank, would look at de-risking through political de-risking. And so, in effect, yes, this is a possibility, but there's still much more information that would be needed to come to any kind of closure.
Thank you, Christopher. I'll invite a reaction from Marco from AFDB on this project, please.
Yes. We look at the first the concept of the project, which is good. Then second, if it's okay, now I see that the PPP. Then I want to see that the real revenue model. If this the clear the revenue structure. That's I really want to see. And maybe at the initial level, there's then what is the government side, the public side contribution, either some financial commitment, either kind of a guarantee, the minimum revenue guarantee, or there's something like that. Like Romain, you mentioned about the land acquisition, and what the government seriousness. Maybe that's the initial point that I want to see.
Thank you, Marco. This is getting very concrete. And Mengitsu, I'll invite a reaction from your perspective as well, please.
Thank you. This kind of project is a massive project. Usually they involve export credit agencies of OECD countries. It's a good idea to sound them at a very early stage before concluding anything, and attracting which suppliers could come from which country. It's a good idea to sound them all and try to narrow down the financing gap that they might have because of the size of the project and also the tenor they might require to pay back. And with this, they need to work on the environmental issue. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. So we'll move to the next question to Marco. So AFDB finances both sovereign and non-sovereign operations. In aviation, what distinguishes projects that are suitable for sovereign lendings versus those that could attract private sector participation?
Yeah, thank you, Romain. Yes, we do have two windows, namely the sovereign window and the non-sovereign window. And in aviation space, we use both. And namely for the sovereign deal, that is namely go to the Minister of Finance to support, is that any aviation project which does not generate revenue or the profit through the project itself, maybe like a safety or the security, even the kind of, we have many different type of program, the regional, the program, that type of thing that, even capacity building, that do not generate from itself. Then I tend to go to the sovereign deal. In the meantime, for the private sector deal, we do finance through the project which generate. We can expect some revenue, clear the revenue, the stream. Again, the PPP is one of them. If there's a kind of the long-term contract, and then yes, we do it, and there's some charges, the airport charges, some passenger fee, etc. If we can see that the clear the revenue source, that is the one, tend to, and also of course the aircraft leasing, not leasing but financing. That's also we tend to think of the private sector finance. So we are, again, always, we look at both sides, but nowadays the tendency is to go to the merge into kind of the PPP, as everybody say that, And then we can mix of the financing, both public to the government, and then the private sector finance to the concessionaire. The good example is the Bishop Airport. That is going to be the largest airport in Africa. We are the mandate lead arranger for the $12 billion project. That is, we look at both NSO, the private sector finance and public sector finance.
Okay, thank you, Marco, for shedding some light on the different instruments that are available with the African Development Bank. So I'll invite some comments from you, Christopher, knowing that the World Bank is actually more of a sovereign window financing solution. So,
I think on this particular project, one of the, I think, big challenges is actually, and possibly the elephant in the room, is this Paris aligned? Can you demonstrate that the project is consistent with the nationally determined contributions, with the long-term strategy on abatement, and with the national adaptation plan? Those are, I should have mentioned that first, because those are a bit precursors in some of the bank's decision-making with any project proposal.
Okay, thank you, Christopher. And Felicity, I know you're more geared towards private sector financing, so how would you respond to this?
I think for this project that we're looking at, we would say it's not yet fit for private sector financing, unless, as my colleagues just mentioned, you can see it's commercially viable, so there's a profit revenue stream, cash flow was clearly defined, and we could see that all the risks, including Paris alignment, particularly the ESIA, it looks very much at this stage like it's very early, and so we would see this as ready for grants. On the sovereign side, although 70% of our investments are actually in the private sector, we do sovereign, and we do public-private partnerships. So we see this as delivering a public good, supporting early stage. It looks currently non-commercial, and it could be occurring in a country where the regulatory environment inhibits private sector. So the European Bank for Reconstruction and Development is working very hard to help countries open up markets, liberalize markets to achieve sustainable development. So I think in that view, we see this as an early stage technical capacity building opportunity to unlock either a sovereign and private element, and that would be a journey we would be prepared to then invest in and look at with colleagues, I would say. And I cannot emphasize the concerns, the biggest risks on this page are the environmental ones. The land tenure raises a lot of concern, which indicates early stage to me.
Thank you, Felicity. So we'll move to the next question, to Olivier. From a practical standpoint, where do aviation projects most often fail between concept, procurement, and execution?
Thank you, Romain, for this question. Maybe to start answering it is to wonder if the project is really a project at the stage it is. Is it just not a good idea, an ambition, and no one could blame any head of state to have a high ambition for his country and his gateway. But what we can witness is that sometimes the projects are oversized or too ambitious, and we never miss ambition, but we miss detail on the way it is designed. So there are two questions to be answered to me. First, is the project affordable? And secondly, is it appropriate? To answer the first question, is it affordable? We have to start with the revenue side of it, and it has been mentioned already. And the revenue on an airport, such as this one, is the traffic. What are the traffic forecasts? And it's not a simple question. It needs solid, thorough studies with different cases, cases that need to be stressed with what-if scenarios. And we saw over the past years, weeks, that impossible things might happen and downgrade the forecast. So traffic forecast is absolutely key. Another element to work on the revenue side is the alternative revenues. With the pressure put on aeronautical revenues, airports and their sponsors need definitely to find alternative way to fund their project. So real estate is one, there are many others. Another question is, do I get the best from my commercial revenue at this stage, and how the project could generate more non-aeronautical revenue as an alternative to the pressure on airline. So, the second element on the affordability is the price of the service, because airport is not an infrastructure, it's a service. Is the level of fares that will end up with the project be acceptable for all parties? We saw many projects where the traffic assumptions were correct, but the change in the tariff over years didn't happen because it was not politically acceptable or to protect the airline. So this is something that needs to be addressed at the very early stage of the project. So that's for the affordability of the project. In terms of whether or not the project is appropriate, the first thing to ask is, are all stakeholders aligned on the project itself? We are talking here about a major hub, which means that there is a hub airline. There is no hub without an airline. This is not new. Is the airline prepared to face the costs of such an investment? Because there will be costs. What expectation does the airline have in terms of improvement of its efficiency? So the object, the tool itself, should be designed by the functional specification prepared collectively by all stakeholders, and not only the sponsor or the engineers. What I really try to promote is the fact that engineers shouldn't drive infrastructure projects. Operators should. They should start with that. They should define their expectation, their level of services, and then the technical specification follows. And too often, airport infrastructures are an engineer thing, as airports are done to participate, to contribute to a service. So the service provider is the one to be asked first. So for me, they are the two elements that should be really put forward. Work collectively on the specification, and make sure that what we design will provide efficiency for the services.
Thank you very much, Olivier. So what I'm hearing here is that scale is not the issue. The real issue is the structure of the project. And few entry points that have been listed. So I've noted phasing, clear phasing of the project, credible revenue flows aligned with traffic, strong governance and regulatory framework, environmental compliance, and also alignment of the project with operational and commercial demand, just to list some of the key points that have been identified. So in the interest of time, we'll move to the second project. So the second project is about CNS ATM modernization. So this is not about infrastructure. This is about systems, data, and digital transformation. In this case, the aviation system still relies heavily on manual and paper-based processes, which entails fragmented aeronautical information, manual billing, limited integration across services. The result is reduced efficiency, weaker oversight, and revenue leakages. The proposed solution is relatively modest, an investment of about $2.8 million, focused on EAIP and AIS digitalization, automated billing and flight statistics, digital safety oversight tools, flight procedure design systems. Compared to large infrastructure projects, this is a small ticket investment, but the potential impact is immediate. Improved compliance, better revenue capture, stronger system credibility. Yet the project remains at concept stage. Key elements still need to be defined. Final technical specifications, a clear operations and maintenance model, data governance and cybersecurity arrangements, and a basic financial structure. This is a typical example of high-impact, low-cost project that should, in principle, move quickly, but often does not. So I'll start again with you, Christopher. The World Bank has supported regional aviation programs in various regions. In aviation, where do you see the strongest case for regional projects?
I know
typically, what evidence must project sponsor demonstrate to justify regional financing support?
And currently I represent
we have done a number of regional projects
Chairman
and regional projects
Georgian
in the
Navigation
CNS
Service
space,
Providers,
mostly in the Pacific and in the Caribbean, small states, where we have used regional funding. Why have we used regional funding? Because there's clear spillover benefits.
I think one of the
so
areas
part of the access
that I
to
would
certain
say,
windows
we've been focusing on as
in the World Bank
as a
need to
manufacturer,
demonstrate the effect
is around
of
collaboration and alignment.
interoperability in the technical design, where you would have clear
I believe that
partnerships,
in general,
or rather, you're working together in the implementation. So where we've also done this is with
in parallel also
implementing
I'm,
agencies that
of
potentially
ICAO ESPG, which stands for European
let me
Aviation.
answer the first question. Would the bank finance this? Yes. Would the bank finance this alone? Not likely. We would be looking for something a bit more transformational. We would be looking to see this as a piece of a larger sector intervention, and that the outcomes would be towards that regional integration and the demonstration of those spillover benefits. If we were going to access that particular window,
European
but more
Aviation
importantly,
System Planning Group.
as a component rather than a standalone project.
Into one group.
Just maybe a quick follow-up question.
To welcome you to this
so clearly the
afternoon
answer is
session,
yes, but not as a standalone.
Is
it based on the value of the investment,
impossible mission,
or is it based on the nature of the nature
reimagining
of the
safety and security in the age of
As a standalone, it's just the value. And so if you package it with a larger
we will
set
discuss the
of
bold
potentially
vision which is
reforms in the
presented
sector,
in the ICAO
potentially
strategic plan for
institutional changes
2026,
or
2050.
other pieces of
The vision
investment
calls
across
for
the sector,
zero
I could
fatalities
see this
in
within a
international
project
aviation
structure.
due to accidents
or
or
invite
cyber threats
reaction
or
from
unlawful
Felicity
interference.
first.
This vision is
So thank you
mirrored
very
also
much.
in
We
the
would see this
Global
as a
Aviation
purely
Safety
grant
Plan,
project, and at
ICAO's
that
Global
scale, we
Safety
would
Strategy,
consider it as a grant
which calls
project.
for
And the
zero
reason
fatalities
we would consider it as a grant project because it delivers a public good, And we also see that it's an early stage, non-commercial project, the way it's currently designed.
It will be in the center of today's panel
I do
discussion.
think these projects are very good done regionally.
Aviation
so
is
we would also
dynamic
encourage
industry,
that,
and we are
but for a
constantly
different
facing
reason
new
other than
challenges
scale, because with
as
grants
it
you could cover the
evolves.
scale, but
Through our
because
discussions this
duplication
afternoon,
here is inefficient.
we will explore what
you
it
know,
takes
bankers
to
like
move from the
efficiency,
vision
so
to reality,
where there was genuine
and
government
explore how past
commitment,
challenges
good
may serve
governance in a
as
regional approach
serve
to
as the
deliver
lessons
something like
learned
this.
to set foundation for
And
a
also,
robust
I think a
global
clear
aviation
efficiency
system
gain, which I think
that
with
prevents
aviation
future
navigation
failures
services,
and
there
accidents.
clearly can be when these are done
To do so,
regionally rather than nationally.
joined
we
on the
would look to
stage by
explore that
esteemed
possibility
panelists,
first before,
very good
before
speakers.
responding. But
So
we do
without
see
further
this,
ado,
the
I
nature
would
of
like
this
to
as a public
introduce
good, as I said
my
previously.
good
Private
speakers.
commercial need to
And
generate
first is
a profit.
Ms. Maria
They
Rueda,
need to
who is
have
from
risks more
EASA,
clearly
European
defined. My big
Aviation
alarm
Safety
here is that
Agency,
this is
and
early
Maria is
stage,
dealing with
and
she's
environmental and
safety,
social readiness.
management,
Back to the
sustainability,
point
and
that
global
Chris made
outreach
earlier,
director in EASA.
Similarly to the
Maria
World
leads
Bank,
the European
EBRD
Plan for
only
Aviation
invests
Safety
where there is Paris alignment.
that
So
outlines the
ensuring
strategic
that
priorities
environmental,
shared
social impact assessment
by EASA and
is
its member
done
states for
is really
aviation
key
safety and
for us.
environmental protection.
Thank you very
Also,
much.
she's actively involved in
Marco,
international
I'll invite a
cooperation
quick
and
reaction from the
EASA's
bank as well
data
regarding
for
those
safety
additional
program.
projects.
So I look forward to hearing from Maria her views both
this is
as
a good,
regional but also
good
at a global
in terms
perspective.
of the, well,
Next speaker
I
will
want to
be
see that the
Mr.
regional
Stuart
aspect,
Fox,
if this is the
who is Director of Flight and
regional
Technical
value,
Operations
and then
at
it's
the
one
International Air
the
Transport
big box to click,
Association,
and then
IATA. Stuart
the-
leads IATA's
on top of
teams
that, probably
that are responsible
that
for
we want to see
flight
that the
and
faster
technical
governance
operations
in
as
terms
well
of
as air traffic
institutional arrangement
management. He has
is well
more than 30 years
set.
experience
And
in the
also
management
the
of various aspects of
capacity.
airline and
sometimes
business jet operations,
we receive
including
many
crew
requests
training,
or something like this all the
regulatory
time,
affairs,
but in the
and line
meantime,
operations.
who
It's also
can
worth
implement
mentioning that
this type of
IATA
project.
itself,
the
with
grant is
its
just easy
360
to give, but the
member
thing is,
airline
how you
companies
can
carry
put,
about
we would love to support,
85%
but
of the world's air
at
traffic.
least we want to see
So I
that
think Stuart
at the
is
minimum
very
level
well
of the
positioned
capacity.
to bring very
If
interesting
if
insights
it's not
from
there,
the
then we would
airline
love to support as well.
perspective and
But
from the different fields
that's
of not
and
just
then lastly,
safety, but also operations and air traffic management.
I noticed that, Felicity, you mentioned that the early stage.
Aribodola
Actually,
is the director
it's not
of
bad for us.
Global
there's-
Safety for Europe,
we would love
Middle
to
East, and
engage
Africa
as early as
at
possible,
Boeing.
so that we can help them
Key helps
to
to
well
shape
structure
and
the
execute
project.
regional safety strategies in support
and also,
of
okay,
joint
lastly,
enterprise goals and integrate
assuming that this
them
comes from the one state
global,
for the regional
regional, and
purpose,
state
then we want to
safety
see that the
programs.
linkage
Throughout
or
his time with
the
Boeing,
well
Kay has
alignment
held several senior
with the
engineering
national
roles
the
in aircraft
strategy
design,
and
testing and
the
validation,
regional the strategy. If it's
and
come from the
regulatory
regional
engagement
LEX,
also. So I
the
look
regional
forward to also
committee,
hearing
then it's
his
fine.
views
But
from the
if it comes from
manufacturer's
some country X,
Our next
then we
speaker
also want to make
is
sure that if
Captain
this is a
Cristina
real
Perez
value for the
Roel.
region as well. Thank you.
She is an aviation
Marco.
safety
What we can
advocate for
already
Air
see from
Crash
the two
Victims
responses here is
Families
that
Federation
although the
International.
general objectives
Christina
and
has vast
approaches are
experience in
similar,
operational safety,
specific requirements and
standardization of
intervention
procedures and
stages
crew
may vary
training,
from one
including as a crew resource
financier to
management
another. So
facilitator.
when approaching them,
She has also
we
been
cannot just
actively involved in
assume a
initiatives
one-size-fits-all,
that promote aviation safety and
application
support
for
the memory of
financing would
air
work.
accident
We really have
victims.
to familiarize
So I
ourselves
think
with their
Christina will
specific
bring
requirements.
some unique perspectives
So now I'll invite
in terms of
Mengele
focusing
to
on
actually
human
put this
side of aviation.
Which aviation
Since we often
components are
discuss
typically best
fatalities
suited
in terms of
for
numbers and
ECA-backed
KPIs
financing,
and rates,
ECA
but
standing
must not
for
forget about the human
agencies.
and
For
the
example,
personal side
CNS, ATM equipment,
of the
terminals,
problem evolved
ARFF, or
as a
even
result of
aircraft for
accidents.
this matter.
Last but not least,
Thank
we are
you.
joined by Mr. Fabio Rabani.
ECAs,
Fabio is a regional
predominantly
director
that are based in
of
the
ICAO's
OECD.
South American
They are
region,
interested
SAM
in equipment
region.
financing,
Fabio is
aircraft
responsible for the
financing,
work of the
or
SAM office,
services
which together
that are
with its member
procured
states
from their
develops
countries.
and implements
They
the
are
regional
willing to
aviation safety
support.
plan for
Usually they become
South American
large scale in
states.
nature.
The name is South American
not a
Regional
small,
Safety Plan, which is
kind
aligned
of
with the global
investment,
plans of ICAO.
what we see
He
now.
also
But
manages important
ideally,
regional
the
cooperation
equipment
projects, including
that
the
is
regional
being
cooperation
processed or
system for
procured
safety oversight
is the type of
and the
equipment that
digital
they
communications
can
network
finance as
South
long as they
America.
produce them.
With his extensive
That is one thing.
experience in regional
The other one
cooperation,
is what they
I'm
are
sure
really interested in is to see a contract that is signed,
And the digital
or ideally
communications
they
network
would
for
want to
South
see it
America.
at the
With his
negotiation stage,
extensive
so that they
experience
know
in
it
regional
meets their
cooperation,
requirement, because
I'm sure
country to
that
country,
he will
they have
bring
various, they
we will
have
have an
differences
interesting
from
insight
country
into
to
the
country.
challenges and opportunities.
The other thing is they want to see,
as an
especially
industry,
the OECD,
we've
they want to
begun
see
better than where we started
the
from.
contract is above board. That is,
maybe except
at
for
least, do they meet
Christina's
the local
organization, the
public
rest of the
procurement
organizations represented
laws,
on here,
and
we
also
have
their
specific
own
activities that
bribery and
ourselves,
corruption requirement, even if it
as
is
the Boeing
from their
company,
own
we're in
country.
partnership
If
with
the contractor
in all
gets
the
it
different regions,
through a dubious means, they
and
don't
it's
want to
all
associate
focused on
themselves,
safety.
even if it is originating from their own country.
Now,
that is
with
one
that
thing.
being
The other
recognized as the,
aspect is
collaboration
the
and
environmental
alignment,
issue is always
the area that
mandatory.
gets to the next level
apart,
of that is
together with the
some of
routine
the things we've
project
talked about here
documents.
in terms of what to measure and the data and things like that. Those things, we
for
found
projects to
they're
qualify,
good.
they have to have contract,
And it helps
they have
us
to have a project
especially when
document,
we talk about
and,
allocating resources
and the other
budget,
thing is
it gives us
they
a
have to be
sense of
very
measurement.
sure as to
But
who is
the
responsible
gaps
for the
that,
borrowing.
we're
Is it the
seeing
sovereign? Is the sovereign
really,
following
around the
sustainable
how to.
lending?
So a lot of
they have to
the
make sure
measurement
that
and a lot of the
it is
different things that we're
within
doing
their
so far has gotten us to
mandate
be
to
better at recognizing
address
the what.
the financial
So what's
needs of
missing,
that
what are the
specific
gaps,
country
and all
in
those
support
various
of
things.
their own
But the areas
contractor.
that seems it's the
Thank
next
you.
level to really collaborate on and align on
move to
is
Olivier.
on the how.
From
There
a
was
practical
the comment
perspective,
around
what are the most common disconnects between
the
technical aviation
wealthy
requirements and financiers'
companies
expectations?
versus the
I don't
those
know
that
if I'm
don't
the
have
most
as much.
suitable to answer this one,
That's
but
been some of those
what I could
areas
say,
that we're seeing
this,
in that some of
is that it's less
the more
financial issue when
I'll
we
call them
see the
privileged
amount of CapEx
organizations
in
would
millions, it's not a
typically
big
tend to
thing,
have
as,
either enough
you
people
said,
or
it can be
resources to
bundled
go
with
figure out the how.
another
But then when you
project,
start
the
reaching
first
out
one,
to
for
some of
instance,
the
was much bigger,
less
and
privileged,
can be part of a more
it's really difficult to
broader
get to that
modernization
point of the
project
how.
of the airport.
And so
But what I see,
we believe
and
to really to
shouldn't
get
be
to this
neglected and
point of
really
zero
studied,
fatalities
to
is
put it
coming
to the,
together,
to the
aligning
banks
on
or
how
to the lenders
help
or to the
those
sponsors is really the
various
it will
organizations
trigger a major change
to get to that point.
in the operation
Okay.
of air navigation
And
services, such a
if we
digitalization project. People will
are to
fear for their
achieve
jobs.
this
So
zero
there will
fatality
be
goal by
need to change
2050,
the skills
which is the
of
greater
people operating.
hurdle,
So,
in your opinion? It's the
if you
technology
want
required
to
or
promote or to show
innovations
this,
to prevent the
change,
accidents, or there is
bring
still a lack
the
of
competency
political
building
will which is
project
required to
together.
invest in safety management?
Can be sold alone. Like
Definitely,
that. So
as
that's
a
something
manufacturer, I
which is,
would like to think it's
which is,
technology.
missing.
So we can obviously sell our
and
technologies,
again,
but really
like for
it is the political will.
large
And,
airport
and it's not a
infrastructure,
political will, maybe the
brownfield
necessarily the way that when we hear
what do you
politics
need?
that we
Ask
think about it, like
what,
just
what
government.
are exactly your expectations?
I'll use a
Because
simple,
there are
somewhat
many service
simplistic
providers,
example.
solution
Cars
providers,
and
there are
seatbelts.
big ones in the as exhibitors today that you can meet. They have solutions, they have options. Is it what you need now? Can you phase it? And last idea is how can you get revenues from something which by nature doesn't bring revenue. It's related to safety, so it's just to improve safety. Okay, we understand that, but would the data made available by the system have value? Can they be commercialized in a way or another, as long as they are anonymized? So this type of thinking the project in terms of change management, what changes does it entice, and what risks are behind, and what benefit, what profit could we get from the data, from the fact that it's digitalized? I'm not sure it's workable, but that's something that could be asked with people who are not far from here.
Thank you, Olivier, for this very pragmatic input to the discussion. So what stands here is that even small projects require clarity on ownership, operations, data governance, environmental and social assessment. Again, so be it a big or a small project, this clearly comes out as a strong requirement to be considered by financial institutions, but also ethical requirements. So, Gits to alluded to the issues of corruption, clarity of contracts, early engagement as well. Spillover benefits, this is important for regional projects to be considered by financial institutions. And without those criteria, even high impact investments can stall. So we'll now move to projects 3 and 4. So project 3 is about SAF biorefinery PPP, a more complex and strategic project. This is so about SAF. As aviation faces increasing pressure to decarbonize, the challenge is clear. SAF supply remains limited, costs are high, and access is uneven. This project proposes to repurpose an existing refinery into a modular biorefinery capable of producing SAF and related fuels. It's a brownfield PPP opportunity with an investment in the range of 400 to 500 million USD. The value proposition is strong. Decarbonization, reduced fuel imports, industrial development and jobs, potential regional production hub. But the complexity is equally significant. This is fundamentally a risk structuring challenge. Feedstock supply, offtake agreements, price uncertainty, operational risks. The project has reached feasibility stage, but key elements remain missing. No secured offtake, no defined SPV, special purpose vehicle, or governance structure, no blended finance approach, and environmental and social work still to be completed. And this is exactly where initiatives like the ICAO's FinVest Hub are designed to support, helping states structure projects, connect with financiers, and move from concept to bankable projects. This is a project with a strong potential, but high execution risk. I'll describe Project 4 as well before we enter into the discussions. This is not about infrastructure or industry, it's about people, systems, and institutional capacity. Many states, particularly smaller and lower capacity states, continue to face persistent gaps in safety and security oversight, limited technical expertise, and weakened regional support mechanisms. The proposal is a 5-year regional program deploying technical experts across key domains: PEL, OPS, AGA, ANS, AIG, and AFSEC, to support states through assessments, corrective action plans, on-site missions, training, and mentoring. The total cost is $9 million USD over a 5-year period. The impact is critical: stronger oversight, improved compliance, preserved connectivity, greater regional harmonization. But this is not a traditional investment project. There is no direct revenue stream and limited private sector interest. This is a public good intervention where the challenge is not bankability, but sustainable financing and coordination. So we'll start the questions with Marco. Many projects remain at concept stage. What are the key steps required to move a project into AFDB's active pipeline?
Thank you, Romain. I think personally I like it. This is exactly the one that we AFDB should support.